The current wave of bird flu in the UK is spilling over to mammals. More than 200 cases have already been recorded in animals like otters and foxes that are believed to have eaten infected birds. Health officials say the risk of the virus jumping to humans is very low, but they'll carry out more targeted testing and surveillance both of animals and humans exposed to the virus. Our environment and rural affairs correspondent Claire Marshall reports.
This is now by far the worst avian flu outbreak in global history. More than 200 million birds, both wild and farmed, have died or had to be culled. A development that's worrying scientists now is the spillover into mammals. In the UK, the virus has been found in foxes. They are scavengers and can feed on birds. It's also been found in otters, the kind of animal also likely to encounter infected birds. So what about the risk to humans?
Okay, so this is our genetics laboratory.
We were shown into the government lab in Surrey at the heart of the UK's fight against avian flu.
So here we have some of the latest technology and innovation in order to speed our work and generate that really important data. So this virus is absolutely on the march.
How much of that is a worry to you that this might be the next COVID-19?
Well, I think when you are working with this disease every day, you're acutely aware of the risks and what it can become. Without overplaying, this global spread is a concern. If we don't solve the problem across the globe, we're going to continue to have that risk.
This view is held around the globe. We spoke to the head of science at the World Organization for Animal Health.
There is a risk for further transmission between species, and we cannot underestimate the potential adaptation to human virus, and that will, in addition to the risk for and the impact in animal health, will have a very important impact in public health.
The threat to humans is still said to be very low. Overwhelmingly, the virus infects birds. In Warwickshire, this lake is treasured by locals. Many migrating waterfowl come here. Last month, there was an outbreak of avian flu and restrictions are still in place. Sue runs a volunteer group.
We're out here every day. We can see what's going on. We can see the state of the birds that are in. We check out all the areas around with the binoculars to make sure that there's no dead animals in the corners. Especially if the wind blows, it moves them to a particular end. And just keep an eye on it.
The advice is clear. Heed any warning signs and don't touch any dead or dying birds. Claire Marshall, BBC News.
Well, staying with that, we can talk to Mohammed Munir, Professor in Virology at the University of Lancaster. Thanks for joining us. How could this spread to humans?
Well, normally this infection is restricted to the birds, as is the name bird flu. However, over the time, it jumped from birds to some of the mammals, for example, as we are seen in the UK in otter and foxes. And what happened is that then the virus would evolve some of those mutations that making this virus, bird flu virus, more susceptible and more adaptive for the human. And in the human, it can start replication into upper respiratory tract. And that is the way the virus has adopted into the human population historically, this bird flu. But the close interaction is really the key to get this infection, particularly if secretions from the dead bird or the sick birds, from mucus, from feces. But it required a close contact and touch to the surfaces to catch this infection. That's not airborne, therefore it's not very easy to catch for the human.
And the fact that it is spreading to mammals, though, foxes obviously not only in the countryside, but obviously in towns and cities too. What should people be aware of if they're worried about infected foxes?
I think the important factor is that the virus, not only the bird flu, but many other viruses do circulate into the animals, and those animals, particularly the wild animal, because we have relatively lower level of surveillance, so we don't really know much about what kind of viruses are circulating into those animals. So I think the best thing to do is to avoid the close contact, and that avoiding the contact is really the key, because we know around 1 million viruses are circulating into the birds, and we cannot eliminate all of those, because that would be fool's errand if we aim to remove those viruses. But all what we can do is reduce the close contact between the animals and to the human, so that these viruses do not come into the human, because more chances we have, higher likely it's going to adopt into the human population.
What about dogs and cats? Could if it's in foxes and other mammals, can it not then come into domesticated pets?
Well, absolutely. I mean, recently we have also noticed that this bird flu, particularly the H5N1, is having more adaptability for the mammals. For example, we have noticed around the world that bear, polecats, badgers, minks, and one of the cat in France has also been infected with H5N1. So the close interaction, again, is really the key. I think the best possible scenario is that if somebody feels that their dogs or cats have picked up a dead bird onto the street, the best possible way is to get that one tested and to contact the vets to make sure that those animals are not carrying the infection and therefore not posing the risks to the human who are holding them.
Worrying. Mahmoud Munir, Professor of Virology, thanks very much indeed for your time. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Let's catch up with the weather. Here's